James Bella, the boxing source, here with another video. And this video here is to talk about a topic that has been, you know, off and on over the past, I would say year and a half. And this is, recently brought up in a conversation that I was a part of yesterday. And it is in reference to Deontay Wilder. Now, one of the things that we talked about is how basically Lou DiBella or DAZN basically forced the hand of PBC when it comes to Deontay Wilder. And I talked about this, or it was talked about on Ring IQ's uh, latest live. And if you go back into the archives of another channel, Counterpunch Boxing News, with Kurt DeVille, he talks about it as well. Um, how basically the zone hustled the PBC to overpay Wilder and force their hand. Now, this is going back to the point where Lou DiBella and Deontay Wilder met up with the zone and John Skipper to try to organize a 3-fight deal which would eventually have Deontay Wilder fighting Anthony Joshua twice, right? So they had the offer of $20 million for the Dominic Brazil fight, and then $40 million each for two Anthony Joshua fights. So he would have had up to $100 million guarantee for 3 fights. This is basically how they organized the deal with Canelo Alvarez. 11-fight, $365 million deal. So it was guaranteed that Canelo Alvarez gets $365 million, right? So in this instance, or with this offer, Deontay Wilder would get $100 million guaranteed with 1 fight against Dominic Brazil and 2 fights against Anthony Joshua, regardless of what happens, right? So Deontay Wilder and his team ends up turning down that deal, but at the same time, it makes PBC have to find that money in order to match or surpass the deal that was offered. Now, they said it was two offers from the zone, one for $100 million and one for $120 million, with the 2 fights against Anthony Joshua being $50 million each in the $120 million offer. Now, he ends up not taking the deal because of, whatever. They say that, oh, this wasn't brought up to Al Heyman, so he couldn't go through with it, right? But at the same token, now what it forced Al Heyman and PBC to do is kind of try to match that particular deal. Now, the setup was already made for Deontay Wilder to fight Dominic Brazil for the WBC heavyweight title, as Dominic Brazil was a mandatory. But with that offer being sent out to Deontay Wilder, and Wilder seemed having a pass on it, the PBC had to pretty much try to match or closely match that particular offer for the Dominic Brazil fight. And as a result, they had to put up a much higher purse for that particular fight than they originally planned. So let's just say, for example, that Deontay Wilder was going to get a $20 million purse for fighting Dominic Brazil on May of 2019. I think that was May 18th, 2019, at the Barclays Center. So if Deontay Wilder is going to get $20 million for that fight, then Dominic Brazil has to get an increased purse because he gets a percentage of what the total purse is going to be for that WBC heavyweight title fight. Okay? So, with that being said, Deontay Wilder goes ahead and fights Dominic Breazeale in Barclays Center. He gets a first round knockout. It's on Showtime. So with it being on Showtime and having the purse that it had, that was way too much for Showtime to spend in order to host that particular fight. They basically had to pay over $20 million. Let's just say it's $20 million for a fight that is on Showtime. That's not on pay per view, which never really happens. So as a result of that, they had to say no, basically say no to the next fight that Deontay Wilder would have because they already lost, a set amount of money for the Wilder Breazeale fight. So going forward, Deontay Wilder has his rematch with Luis Ortiz. And now since it's not on Showtime, Fox has to pick up the bill and it has to be a pay-per-view. Now, we know about the whole thing with Luis Ortiz and him possibly fighting Anthony Joshua on June 1st and everything like that. And they were sent offers of $5 million, $6 million, $7 million, right? And he ended up not taking the deal, regardless of if the manager said no or, if Al Heyman said no, if Jay Jimenez said no, whatever. He ended up passing on that deal. And you had Luis Ortiz fighting Deontay Wilder in a rematch, right? So now they had to come up with another guarantee for that particular fight card. And because of that guarantee, they had to put that fight on pay-per-view. And with them putting the fight on pay-per-view, you get the numbers. You already have the numbers that are out there for that particular fight. It was not good overall numbers. So with it not being good overall numbers, that means that Fox lost money on that instance, right? So now you fast forward and you have Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury 2. Joint pay-per-view where Fox and ESPN have to put up the money in order for it to be a pay-per-view fight. Now, like how much was put into this particular pay-per-view. This is talked about. They put in advertisements over the course of the next 3 months or whatever it was. They had Tyson Fury appearing on ESPN for certain shows. They had Deontay Wilder appearing on shows on Fox and whatever it is. They had commercials on the Super Bowl, and we know how much that costs. They had commercials on for the Daytona 500. So when it came to that particular pay-per-view, they had to have big numbers in order for that fight to become successful, for that fight to make money. Now, they had the guarantees that were reported by Dan Rayfield. It was up to like $25 million or something like that. It'll be posted on here with the report that Dan Rayfield showed. What the Nevada State Athletic Commission reported as the purses and what the overall guarantees would be for that particular fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, February 22nd. Now, here we are a few weeks later, and we've got the pay-per-view numbers. It was 825 to 850,000 pay-per-view buys in America, right? So the report is that in order for that particular event to break even, it had to surpass 1.1 to 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, and it fell below that quota. So since it fell below that quota, they lost money on that particular event. So right now, it seems like Deontay Wilder and their team are in a hard place because now they don't have the notoriety because he's not the WBC champion anymore, and the money that he was slated to get on that DAZN deal, that 3-fight guarantee, that's pretty much out the window because now you just have those 3 fights that he did actually have: Dominic Breazeale, Luis Ortiz rematch, Tyson Fury rematch. Did he get $100 million? No. Did he get 120 million? No. So right now, it looks like he basically bet on himself and lost. Because now in this particular rematch that's supposed to happen, he is going to get the shorter end of the stick when it comes to this particular rematch. I think it's going to be 60-40 in Tyson Fury's favor. And if you go by the purse of Wilder Fury 2 with the base purse and the guarantees, it was supposed to be $50 million total purse. Now it's going to be in the instance where Tyson Fury would get $30 million and Deontay Wilder would get $20 million. So it would be $20 million, $25 million, and then whatever he got for the Ortiz fight, and then even theoretically $20 million for the Brazil fight. That's still not enough to accumulate to 100 or $120 million for the offer that they got from DAZN and that he passed up on. So let me know what you think about this particular topic. Subscribe to the Boxing Source here on YouTube, and you have the Boxing Source radio show Sundays 7:30 p.m. live on Blog Talk Radio, or you can subscribe on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcast app is. On that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.